Hi, yo. It's a video. Hi, yo. It's another video. Hi, yo. It's a video. Hi, yo. It's another video. Hi, yo. It's another video. Hello world, it is I, Michael's Memento, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my experience of going through DBT and RODBT. For those who don't know what RODBT and DBT is, it stands for, well, DBT stands for Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, just reading off the Wikipedia. And it is an evidence-based psychotherapy that began with efforts to treat personality disorders and interpersonal conflicts. Evidence suggests that DBT can be useful in treating mood disorders and suicidal ideation, as well as changing for behavioral patterns such as self-harm and substance use. This was created by Marshall Linehan. She was a psychology researcher at the University of Washington. And from what I remember, she developed this therapy specifically for her because during her time, there wasn't any kind of, I guess, therapy or kind of health, I don't know, process that would help what she was dealing with, which I think it was borderline personality disorder. So she ended up, creating the whole DBT, and RODBT is just a different type of DBT, which stands for radical openness, radically open dialectical behavioral therapy, or behavior therapy. And I don't know, I felt like, or at least I think of RO, like the difference, just remembering it from experience and going through it, I suppose you can say, it's just being more radically open, more open to new ideas. So I'm just going to read out loud of the handout I was given of defining what is radical openness and what is not. So what is radical openness? Radical openness means being open to new information or just confirming feedback in order to learn. Radical openness helps us learn to celebrate self-discovery. It is freedom from being stuck. Radical openness can be rewarding. It often involves trying out novel ways of behaving that may help us cope more effectively. Radical openness is courageous. It alerts us to areas of our life that may need to change. Radical openness enhances relationships and models humility and readiness to learn from what the world has to offer. Radical openness involves purposeful self-inquiry and willingness to acknowledge one's how you pronounce this, fallibility, with intentions to change if needed. It can be both painful and liberating. Radical openness challenges our perceptions of reality. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Being open to learning new things involves a willingness to consider that there are many ways to get to the same place. Radical openness takes responsibility for our personal reactions and emotions rather than automatically blaming others or the world. Radical openness helps us adapt to an ever-changing environment. And radical openness is not approval, naively believing, or mindlessly giving in, assuming one already knows the answer, something that can solely be understood intellectually. It requires direct and repeated practice, rejecting the past, expecting good things to happen, always changing, being rigid about being open. And those that I list out was just what is not radical openness. What is not radical openness? So it has been an adventure. I think my first appointment for the program was in November 2022. It is now January 5th, 2024. And my last appointment was actually last month in December 2023. And that is a little bit over a year. From personal experience, my first few sessions, or whatever you want to call it, it was just really individually with a therapist. I mean, well, hold up. Let me back up because, I did the whole like intake. You fill a bunch of questions, one like of like recent history and more distant history, and then just about like your, in terms of like social history and medical history, on top of like medical history, including like mental health and other things if you needed. Um, and you also do like an intake interview, and they ask you more questions, which I don't remember. It's going over my head. And they, after some time, they match you up with a therapist, and I think they also, like, in that time frame, they also figure out like what group you can like join or whatever, in terms of group therapy, because I think that like coincides with DBT. Is like, okay, you need to have an individual session and also group sessions, from what I'm understanding, at least in the program that I attended. And the one I attended was kind of like known for, I think there's only a few in the US that specifically is for like gold standard DBT. From doing my intake, they kind of found or suggested that I kind of have traits that go in hand, or I bounce back and forth from being like, over controlled and under control. So, meaning that I guess from my interpretation of being over controlled and under control is like over control, like maybe, for example, like being over controlled of my beliefs and what I think, versus like under control can be like I just let my emotions out, maybe, or I just spill out all the beans. I just overshare with people, maybe. That's an example of under control. Again, this was my like first time ever doing this therapy. I wanted to quit many times during the 1 year and some odd weeks or whatever, and it was tough. And I think like at the end of the day, yeah, it's what you make out of it. And I didn't want to, like, I don't know, just let it go by and okay, it's just therapy. It is what it is. And I mean, in a way, it is that way too. But like, I don't know. I save enough money. I put enough money on the side because, unfortunately, DBT isn't covered by insurance. So whether or not, if I had a job, like insurance wouldn't cover it. So thankfully, I put enough money on the side or whatever, and was able to pay. Just like the place, just for example, the place I attended to, the intake itself was like $350. The individual sessions are $165, for like an hour. It's really less than an hour, like I think 50 minutes at most. And then group sessions are $100 for like, I think it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. I don't remember the time, but it's like 2 hours ish. With like sometimes there's like no breaks, or most of the time there's no breaks in between. And while you're doing group sessions, and you do that every week. You're meeting your therapist every week. You're going to group every week, and group is specifically focused on the skills you're learning. So each week is you're learning different materials, through, I don't know if it's the same DBT books that all, I don't know, DBT clinics use or whatever. I don't know that. Maybe because it's probably kind of like standardized in some way. It being like in the health industry. I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me know. But that part I enjoyed and don't enjoy because there's certain, I don't know, modules or learning modules or skill modules, whatever you want to call it, that like really stood out to me. And I wish that was its own, I don't know, like a month worth of work. I felt like, especially anything that had to deal with forgiveness and shame and guilt, is like it resonates a big chunk for me anyway. And I know that's something I'm going to have to need to work on for myself. So that's just kind of like a broad overview of like DBT. And for me, it was just only a few weeks in, and then with my therapist one on one, and then we decided together like, oh, okay, maybe it's time to like join a group. So I don't know, logistics, what happened in the back end or in administration or whatever, but they put me or set me up with. I think it was just for this one, it was just standard DBT. So it wasn't RO, radically open or radical openness. So I was just learning more skills about, I guess, regulating my emotions or what's that section called? Distress tolerance, because I was still in this state where um, I guess you could say my emotional level in a way was like going overboard, or it was like 10, like high numbers. And I guess from an objective view, they as in I guess the clinic, or maybe specifically my therapist, wanted to focus on, okay, let's get those like scores, those levels down, to where, okay, once you get that down, we'll switch you over to RODBT, which happened, I think, maybe like halfway in to regular DBT or standard DBT. I was switched to RO DBT to kind of like help me, I don't know, do more self inquiry. And that was like the big challenge of learning about self inquiry. Because standard DBT, from, I guess, in the tip of the iceberg, is just like, well, they all, standard DBT and RODBT both focus on mindfulness, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, emotion regulation. But like most of those four things, I believe, are like they're morally covered in just standard DBT, and RO is more like, I don't know. To me, it felt like more challenging, challenging yourself to be more open, I suppose, to new things, like I mentioned near the beginning of this video. Like radically openness helps us adapt an ever-changing environment, or it means being open to new information or disconfirming feedback in order to learn. Just like those things weren't really focused on in standard DBT. And another thing is, you do diary cards, and that is something kind of new to me, except like being hospitalized, you have these kind of like diary cards of your day, and you score your emotional level, and maybe your appetite or whatever. This one was a little bit more in depth in terms of, I mean, you're doing it every day, so it's Monday to Sunday. You're filling it out. Hopefully, I know for the standard DBT, man, it's been a while since I looked at this one, but you have physical pain like ranking, I guess, or maybe, I don't know if you rank it or you like make comments. It's been a while since I've seen that, but I think you rank it from like a 0 to 5, 5 being high, 0 being low. Physical pain, sadness, fear, anxiety, shame, happiness, guilt, and anger. And then you have like another section for like daily report, I guess, like just um, interactions you can write down, and just thoughts that come into mind that you remember at the end of the day, maybe, or just like situations that happen, and like how did you feel afterwards, or how did you feel then? What'd you do? What'd you say? What did the person say? In terms of the other person, if there was another person, and stuff like that. So it's very I don't know, maybe robust, I guess is the right word or whatever. And then you have a whole nother page just for like the skills you use. So in standard DBT, there's like the core mindfulness skills is like, I guess it's like wise mind. There's other things. The way I think of it, mindfulness is like being mindfully in the moment without like interpretation, judgment, without any like thoughts. You're just there. which I remember when I was called like inpatient hospitalization. So you're not really in a hospital setting, but anyways, they were going over DBT, and he talked about how Marsha Linehan, the creator of DBT, uh, I think it took her a very long time to like one, either practice, or two, master mindfulness. Is just to like, for example, like just look at a cloud and just pretty much like not think of anything. I suppose you're just observing. There's no label. You're not defining it. You're not describing the cloud. You're just, I'm observing it, and that is it. And there's nothing going on really in the mind, which is very, very difficult to do. It sounds simple, but it's actually really not. And you got to like more skills on interpersonal effectiveness. And the way I think of interpersonal effectiveness is just like your ability to communicate with other people, either what your needs are, what your wants, I suppose, what concerns you have, conflict resolution, stuff like that is kind of bundled up in interpersonal effectiveness. And then you have distress tolerance skills, which I don't remember a whole lot. I think that really meant, I think I kind of mentioned it. It's like when you're in distress, when you're over a 10 or you're really high up in numbers, and what can you do for yourself? Like, can you get an ice pack? Can you do like an intense exercise? Can you do like a muscle relaxation? It's like meditation, stuff like that is what comes to my mind right now. And then you have emotion regulation. I guess one skill is like check the facts. Like I realize that I do a lot. Like, oh, I try to mind read people, and I'm like, well, there's no actual factual, like, there's no facts to back that up. I'm just putting things in my head, and it's not really, it's not really real. It's not based on, facts. Another one is like going opposite to your emotion. So if I feel fear, I can go in it, or I can, instead of feeling fear, I can see it as an opportunity to be more excited because it's new or something like that. And that is very difficult, especially for fear anyways, for me, and a bunch of other stuff. And I just want to touch base back to distress tolerance, because that one is actually pretty important when you're in that state or in those states. Like the stop skill. Oh man, what was that? Oh, sorry. I remember a tip skill for sure, but yeah, stop skill is one. I just don't remember an acronym, what that means off the top of my mind. What was tip? I just know one was for like, intense exercise, pace breathing, and then, oh yeah, no, that is tip, because T is for temperature, I is for intense exercise, P is for pace breathing. So temperature is like, yeah, like I said earlier, getting an ice pack, taking a cold shower, or, hot shower or whatever, kind of brings your mind into like, okay, to, I guess, the physical scope, I suppose. The intense exercise is like, okay, like if you're feeling like, those intense emotions or intense thoughts, then I don't know, do some push-ups or lots of jumping jacks or something to get your physiological I guess state or being moving, and like get the blood flowing, so to speak, so that you kind of like break the cycle of, or detaching your emotion from your I don't know, physical body in a way. I mean, not really detached, but you're trying to disrupt, I don't know, your emotions right now, like taking over of your body. Because then if you feel like distress or whatever, you tend to, I don't know if, at least for me, I shut down. I don't really want to talk. I just cower or whatever. And, or like some people, maybe you want to like just sleep all day or, stuff like that. I don't know. That's, maybe just maybe a poorly, example, but, I'm judging myself there and I'm catching myself. But just to go back to the four, I guess, pillars, so to speak, for DBTs, like mindfulness, being fully aware of the moment and being present in the moment at all times without any interpretation or judgment. Distress tolerance, the ability to tolerate the pain and emotion you can become overwhelmed with in a stressful situation. Interpersonal effectiveness, the ability to interact with others effectively and learn to get your needs met by asking for what you want or saying no and setting boundaries. Emotion regulation, the ability to manage and respond to intense range of emotions you might feel on a daily basis, learning to take care of yourself physically as well as emotionally to reduce vulnerabilities. So I don't really know what else to talk about. Again, I'm kind of new to this. I don't really know. I just wanted to share my experiences, and I'm really going to miss my therapist as much as a pain in the butt I was. Maybe, um, yeah, he was a very good therapist to have, and there were times. And I think, man, I don't know if it's in their, I don't know what you want to call it, quota or instructions or whatever, to like kind of test the waters of, because there were moments, there were sessions in there where I'm like, no, I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it just set me off either on the edge or toward the edge, so to speak, of like, well, I really want to quit. And there's a lot of that. Like for the DBT diary cards, it's completely different from the standard DBT diary card, or what say you, and a lot of it is like, I guess, like being aware or using what's called the awareness continuum, which is being aware of like your thoughts, aware like what emotion you're feeling, and being able to label that emotion. That's one other thing. And like what's going on in your body, stuff like that. So like this first column, so to speak, is like just thoughts, sensations, and emotions, and another part is social signaling, which is a whole nother thing, which is like how you're social signaling, like to other people or yourself, like talking to someone, making eye contact, that like social signaling, like half smiling, um like being more approachable in that sense. Like for instance, if you were to talk to another person and they're like showing a really angry face, but they're laughing too, so you can't really figure out, are they angry with me, are they angry with someone, are they just, like another example of like something I do is like I laugh when I'm discussing something either important or something that's like, whoa, like that's serious, or um, I do that because for me, at least, that's like a coping mechanism, maybe. And I only say maybe because like maybe it was that way, and then now I'm just like used to doing that. Whenever either talking about uncomfortable discussion, or it's something demented or like dark or whatever you want to call it, I'll laugh, because that kind of, for me, it lightens myself, makes me feel more comfortable, I suppose. And then there's another section about valued goals. In that sense, is like, what do you find important for yourself? That kind of defines, I guess, where you stand morally and ethically, and who you want to be for yourself. and then there's like another section about your therapeutic relationship, which is just like you and your individual therapist. Like, how do you feel? What do you think? Are you thinking about quitting? Do you think about all that stuff? And then there's another section just specifically for self-inquiry questions, which is super important. And I didn't really know how to do self-inquiry. I still don't really know. I'm not like perfect or whatever. I mean, it's asking questions without judgment. And you're not really answering those questions. You're just thinking about it. And that was the hard part. It's like, well, I can answer it. And that kind of defeats the purpose. You don't want like to be able to, I don't know, answer it right off the bat, so to speak. You just kind of want to do like this self-discovery in a way. I don't know. Do I have an example? Like, I don't know, like what is it going to take me to be more willing to like do this or do that? That's and maybe an example that I'm still working on. Again, I'm not a master at self-inquiry, but it's definitely kind of keeps my mind occupied when I'm in the rut or when I'm trying to figure out certain things. And just going back to the value goals, because it's really funny because my individual therapist, asked me, I guess, to write or to think about my value goals. And I'm not going to read it here, but let's just say like when it was my appointment the next week or whatever, I ended up writing like a paper on my value goals, and I felt terrible because I'm like, oh, did I miss the point? And in a way, yeah, I did. And my therapist was not expecting like a paper on my own value goals. Yeah, and something that's like going through DBT, I've kind of learned that those kind of change over time, I suppose. And maybe that's because I'm also trying to figure that out on my own. For me, um, like I don't know still, like what are my value goals, and I like to think, or I think, um, it will keep changing, and because I don't know, I just have a hard time with just being like, okay, that is it. Just like I guess a analogy or a metaphor or whatever, as like going to a buffet and there's so many choices. I want to try everything. I want to try every single food there, despite whether or not I don't know. I don't know if I will enjoy it or not, but I'm going to try it. And like value goals is like, yeah, I can't tell if this is really, really important to me, if this is something I really, really valued. So that's something I'm still trying to work on. And circumstances in life can make it challenging as well. Just like me right now, I had a discussion like months ago, maybe, with another person about like being lonely and then also wanting to be like to talk to other people or meet other people. But then I'm like, it's hard work, and when you kind of feel like you're the only one putting a lot of work, um, you just kind of like, this is too much, or like, this is too exhausting and whatnot, and there's no reciprocal relationships, and then I tend to just like not talk or even send messages or whatever. So then nothing happens. No relationship is built upon that, and it's sad. And it goes both ways though, which is it's so difficult. So trying to be the example, but also like figuring out like, is this even something I really like desire? I mean, we are social beings, but at the same time, it's just like, I think I would rather just accept the loneliness and be okay of being alone. So that's why it's like, I don't know, contradictory, I guess, so to speak. Um, Yeah, I just can't believe I am done with DBT. This is my first time ever going through it for a little over a year. I remember being hospitalized, and the therapist that I had in the inpatient hospitalization said, you're gonna want to give up. You're gonna want to quit DBT or therapy. If you do think about it, bring it up to your therapist, which I ended up doing. Whenever a thought came up in mind, I would tell my therapist, like, or I'll write it down on my diary card to make it like just super easy. um, like I have the thought of quitting therapy or whatever, and it makes that discussion a lot easier to talk about. And um, yeah, and that brings me into thinking about, there's a section talking about, I don't remember if this was standard DBT or RODBT, but having a fatalistic mind and a fixed mind. And yeah, I know what those are. Just being like in fixed mind, just as it sounds, like being fixed, you're just fixated, kind of like ruminating. And fatalistic mind is like, what's the point? Uh, I get that a lot. And it's hard when you experience something and then it happens again. And you're like, oh, see, it's happening again. So what is the point? And it's hard. It's very hard to be open and willing again to try again. Um, yeah, at least for me, it is. And what else do I want to talk about? I don't really know. I didn't really structure this. I don't really know how to write a script for videos. Um, I just took some notes about, like, what is mindfulness, and then just were my first and last appointments at the DBT clinic I went to. Oh, and by the way, this was all digital, so I didn't go to a place and face to face with people. Which is, I prefer meeting face to face, but unfortunately, this place was like, I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 hours away from me. So doing that commute twice a week, it's probably not worth it, especially when I had a job at the time when I started, which is probably a story for another video, maybe. Um, and yeah, another big one that's something like, I think I mentioned a little bit about it, was like forgiveness, shame and guilt, which kind of has to do with me being out of work right now. I'm unemployed. Um, is There's a part in, I think it was for the RODBT, on forgiveness script, and on in lieu of that was also the loving kindness meditation, which is so difficult for me. It's hard to think of, I don't know, someone that I really care about and whatnot. Because my mind likes to wander. I'm like, and then I'll start judging, like, I don't know if I or this person deserves, either I deserve their love, or they deserve my love. And I don't know what kind of relationship we have. They're not really, are they really? I don't know. Are they really that important? I'm not sure. And I start like try to create an equation, like, oh, they're doing this. Does this mean blah, blah, blah? I don't know. And then, yeah, going back to the forgiveness script, because I've messed up a lot, and saying sorry to myself is just so difficult, and being able to forgive myself for the terrible things I've done, and just the poor decisions I made that involve myself and others. And I, yeah, um, it sucks. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if that kind of explains, I don't know, my experience, or it gives some kind of insight of my experience with DBT, standard DBT, and RODBT. If you are in either one or in both, I encourage you to stick out, especially if it's your first time. I know it's super hard. I know it takes a lot of work. And I implore you to, have that meaningful discussion with whoever your therapist is, or whoever in your life that you whoever you trust, or who are willing to listen and support you. And that's kind of in a way why I'm doing this, because I don't really have a whole lot of that in my life, and I guess I'd rather try to reach a vast amount of people efficiently on the YouTubes. Maybe, I don't know. So wherever you are in the world, I hope your day, morning, evening goes well. Thank you for watching this video. I hope, again, brought some insight or something, or of some value. This was just my experience. Some thoughts on DBT and RODBT. In a way, yeah, it is what you make out of it. Do the work, participate in group. It is scary. It was scary for me. That's something I kind of didn't really touch on. So, kind of aside before I end the video here, is just group is hard, and I had a lot of judgments on group. Like every group, you have to say hello, your name. You have to, at least in RODBT. I don't remember a whole lot on standard DBT group. It's been a while. You have to mention your levels of openness, your connectedness, and your flexibility, which just means your openness. Are you willing to be? I guess, are you willing, or are you open to being a part of a group today? Are you open to new ideas? Are you open to challenging your beliefs or whatever? Are you open listening to opposite opinions, beliefs, and stuff like that? Flexibility is just like, are you able to, if something comes up, are you able to reorganize yourself or reschedule, or something like that? Are you also willing to, are you flexible in the terms of, I don't know, learning something new? I mean, that's part of being open too. But stuff like that. And what was the last one? Connectedness. Is like, how do you feel connected to this group, I suppose, which was something I couldn't, I don't know, adjust, or I couldn't get a grasp of, because a lot in my mind, and maybe this is part of either fatalistic or fixed mind, maybe, I don't know. That's actually an interesting thought right now. Whether or not it is fatalistic mind or fixed mind, in terms of, I don't know, judging the people, not judging the people, but like, I know the fact that I'm going to be done with this program at some point, and these people are going to go on with their lives, and that is the end of it. So, like, being connected was like, it was hard for me to feel connected. And yeah, some people seemed to like my vibe, especially when it was my last day and they announced like, oh, it's blah blah blah's graduation date. And some people, said farewells and good lucks, and something about like, you brought, I don't know, joy or whatever to the group. Which I don't know. I was surprised and taken aback by those comments. So it was kind of just like, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, participate in group and do the homework. Be open and willing with your individual therapist. So, I would definitely do it again if if I had more money. Unfortunately, I do not. And I hope someday it becomes something covered with insurance, because unfortunately it is not. So anyways, farewell. Take care. Bye bye. Hi, yo, it's a video. Hi, yo, it's another video. Hi, yo, it's another video.